Cultivando Éxito. And we are so happy to have you all. We have a great group that have signed up for this course. Thank you for being here. I am excited that you'll get to connect with one another throughout the course, as well as many of our guest farmer speakers and our guest resource providers. So welcome again. And we are excited to kick it off for our agricultural entrepreneurship and business planning course. My name is Kate Smith, and I work with our WSU Food Systems program statewide and lead our Cultivating Success coordinator team. We'll introduce everyone, all of our facilitators here coming up shortly, but just wanted to point out all of us have our WSU backgrounds, and if you see that, we're each of your course facilitators. So, before we really get started, I want to announce that we offer Spanish interpretation. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me just go ahead and screen share our welcome presentation. So, you're here for our agricultural entrepreneurship and business planning course. This is our second in the series of our Cultivating Success program. So some of you took our fall course, our whole farm planning. Some of you took our Explore Your Farm Dreams short course this past summer, and some are new to it. You don't have to take the courses in order, and they're all about community engaged learning, and you each get to take out what you want from this course. So we offer Spanish interpretation with our course. And so if you are interested in listening to our course in Spanish, we offer interpretation with our colleague Eber Rivera. And so I'm going to go ahead and enable our interpretation. And if you would like to, you can select that symbol of the world below. And then you can select Spanish and listen in to Eber throughout our course. Si desean escuchar en español, se puede seleccionar ahí abajo en su pantalla donde hay un símbolo del mundo y se puede seleccionar español y escuchar a nuestro compañero Eber. So from here on out, if you'd like to listen to that Spanish interpretation, that's where you'll head to. And we'll be having most of our course virtually here via Zoom. We do have some in-person intensives that we'll talk about later in the night and in the coming weeks. But if you're not familiar with Zoom, if you haven't taken a lot of courses via Zoom, this is just a quick overview. We love it when we get to see you all, but we also recognize that sometimes people are busy and need to do different things during the course, and this virtual format allows you to listen in. So when you can, please turn your video on, especially when we have guest speakers. It really helps. Keeping your mic muted is great. And that way we aren't interrupting our guest speakers that we have each night. And then you can always use in number 3, you'll see that's participants. If you can see all the participants, we've got about 40 people on our call tonight. Excellent. And then the chat box, we share lots of resources in the chat box, and that's open for you also to share any upcoming farm education events that you know about, market things, lots of any market opportunities when I say that, market things, or you can ask lots of questions to our guest speakers throughout the night. So we encourage that. Each week we record our class. So if you aren't able to be here, you can watch it later in the week and we'll post it on our student website. And we also post the chat. So if there's a resource that someone shared, that one of our facilitators shared, or maybe one of you shared, you can go back through and check that, either watch the video again or check through that on our student website. Okay. Great. Excellent. So a few more logistical details to get us started. So we've got just some background on Cultivating Success. Our Cultivating Success program was founded in 2001. and it was in collaboration with the University of Idaho. And these programs have been continued to be offered in Washington and Idaho to support small farms across our states. Um, Previously, these courses were offered in a few counties in Washington where our WSU Extension offices had enough capacity to be able to offer the course in person. And then in 2020, we shifted to online and since have been a statewide online course, which allows many people that live in more isolated rural areas of the state to be able to still participate, and especially in areas that didn't have courses available before. So we're very happy to have so many of you from joining from across Washington and then a few from out of state. And then all of our courses will be in this format virtually online, with the exception of some in-person events that we'll suggest that you can go to if you'd like, and then our in-person intensives we'll talk through. All right,
Hey,
so yes,
oh,
go ahead, Claire.
just one moment. We're not seeing the world icon
Let's
for the
see.
interpretation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it's not showing up for me at the moment either. Let's see. It was there before. Let me stop sharing and I'll reshare. Let's see if that works. Um,
Okay.
okay. So let's see. And here we go. Okay. Thanks everyone for your patience and thanks Claire for interrupting me.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ya, si desean escuchar en español, se puede escuchar a Ever. Gracias, Ever. We're so thankful to our coworker, Eber Rivera, who is interpreting in Spanish for us tonight, and thanks all for your patience. All right, so back to our next part after sharing and presenting, introducing Eber, who was on. Eber can give a wave and is now interpreting. I'd like to introduce each of our facilitators for our course. And you'll see us each switch out in facilitator roles throughout the weeks. We are each located in WSU extension offices throughout the state and are really here as resources for you during this course and then after the course. Has anybody been into a WSU office? Maybe give a thumbs up if you have, if you've reached out or visited your county extension office. And if you haven't yet, we really encourage you to come on by and really reach out to us throughout the course as well as after. So, my name is Kate Smith. I am our lead facilitator for our Cultivating Success program, and I work for our statewide food systems program. And I'm located in Skagit County. I provide bilingual English Spanish technical assistance and support. I get to work with our coworker Ever and support many different farmers and folks who want to start farm businesses, and then run other programs like our statewide Farm Walks program. And yeah, I live on about a third of an acre and grow a lot of veggies, have some fruit trees and berries, and a lot of different crops, a lot of flowers as well. And yeah, that's me. I'll pass it over to Rosie if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, and welcome everyone. We're super excited to have you for this series. I'm Rosie Smith. I'm with Snohomish County Extension. I'm the Ag Program Coordinator here. And I live on 3.5 acres. We have a orchard with a bunch of heirloom, different kinds of fruit, big veggie garden, sheep, chickens, more of a homesteader. I did do some farming in my previous career. Um, so I've grown lots of different livestock and large amounts of veg. And I will pass it on to Claire.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claire Menard, and I am based in Kitsap County out of Bremerton. And I also work for WSU Regional Small Farms, which means I work in Clallam and Jefferson counties as well. And I farmed for many, many seasons before coming to WSU, and now I live in an apartment, so kind of a big life transition there. But yeah, I farmed mixed veggies, livestock, and I farmed with draft horses as well. So very excited to be here. And I will pass it off to Terry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Terry Coper. I am the Small Acreage Program Coordinator for WSU Clark County Extension down in Clark County. Um, my background is in soil health, and climate and agriculture. And I'm a gardener, and I raise chickens too. And really glad to have you all.
Thanks, Terry. Great. We have two other facilitators who are not on the call tonight, but Catherine Hugame from Stevens County and Tessa Halloran from Mason County. And so you will see throughout our course, you'll get a chance to hear from each of us. We'll each take on a night leading different course topics. And then when we meet in our regional groups, you'll be able to meet with your closest regional facilitator. And similarly, when we have our in-person intensives, they'll get to work with your closest regional facilitator. So we hope that we can share resources with you and our different expertises from across the state, and really connect you with the resources that you need for your farm business planning. All right, excellent. So now, just before we dive into the really exciting and I guess the meat of our evening that our courses offer each week, which will be our guest speakers tonight. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. I want to walk you through our course website, our student website. Were any folks able to get on the course website before tonight? I know that some were able to. Yep, awesome. So some thumbs up. Great, excellent. And so that course website, woohoo, is where we will be posting the recordings from each week. So when we will record the class, we'll post it, and if you're not able to attend and see that class, you'll be able to check it out and follow up with it. I'm so happy to see so many thumbs ups and that many of you have been able to access that. We post lots of different resources that we have honed over the years that are really helpful and relevant to you, as well as our lots of suggested reading as well, and our homeworks. So let me just go ahead and share our main course website with you so we can look at it together and talk through the details, and so you know how to use it. I'm guessing that many of you already have checked out what we're looking at this week and what topics we'll go over, but we'll talk through it together. All right, so this course, our learning objectives are to identify key aspects of small business planning. And we'll be doing that through inviting guest speakers each week, and then presenting on specific topics. So each week we'll have a topic, and we invite in a resource provider to speak first, and then a farmer speaker to speak from their experience and share that. And we hope through that you will gain a sense of what are those key aspects and the helpful things and different experiences that people are, that farmers face day to day, and what resources they've used. We want you to be able to access available resources. So those guest speakers and each facilitator will share out resources and tools, upcoming events and education opportunities, and ways that you can network and connect in with other peers. With that, we'd like to initiate a peer-to-peer network of other farmers. So we'll be doing some breakout rooms each week during the middle of the class, usually around 7 o'clock. So if you're not able to be on video the whole time for the whole class, if you can find a way to be available and be on video during that time, it's a really great time to connect in with your peers who might be people that you share ideas with or exchange different strategies and ideas for what you're thinking of doing, or maybe even in the future share equipment or go in on a bulk order for something. Farming is something that oftentimes you may feel like you are alone, but having that support network to connect in with and share resources is so valuable. So we hope that you take time to connect with others here in the course, and we'll share a few other ways to do that too. And then finally, develop a farm business plan for use in an agricultural enterprise. So, our business planning course, we're hoping that you all choose the plan that you want and that is most helpful to you. I'll share some templates at the end of the night, and you get to choose one that makes sense to you for whatever your purposes are for taking this class, at what level you want to have a business plan. And week by week, we'll be going through our topics and we'll have assigned homework that are different portions of that business plan that you can fill out week by week so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming all at once. Creating a business plan can feel like a huge thing, but if we work towards it week by week together, it's much more manageable. All right. So this cultivating success, all of our courses are based on these core principles, farmer mentoring. So we really value the experiences of current farmers and experienced farmers to come in and share. And so each week we invite in those farmer speakers, and maybe some of you will be farmer speakers for our classes in the future. And we pay honorariums to each of our farmers because it is so important to be able to support people who are sharing expertise. Our courses are community based, and so really we want to help. One of our main strategies and main goals of the course is connecting you with that network of peers, network of resource providers, and those that can support you in your business journey. And we take a whole farm and sustainability focused. You'll hear lots of us talk about sustainable agriculture and organic agriculture, soil health, all sorts of things that are really important to us. And that balance of the three different core tenets of sustainability: environmental, financial, which we're going to be focused a lot on here in this course, and then that quality of life, the social sustainability. And we have a small farm focus for our program. We invite farms of all sizes to participate in the programming. And many of you on the course some of you already have land. And that could be maybe a small greenhouse space that some of you are working in, all the way up to a couple hundred acres that you have access to. The scale is not so important, but many of the strategies that we'll be presenting can be applied whether you count yourself as a small or a mid-scale farm. This is our Zoom link. We'll be on this same Zoom link every week. And so you can join either from what you've got in the email that we sent out or on our student website here, this link. It will stay the same for each class. And then below that, you've got our week by week topics that we'll be going through. And so tonight we'll be going through our introduction to business planning. So that will kick us off with both of our guest speakers. The homework we'll tell you about later, and all of the resources that can help you begin to dive into business planning. All right. We will be going through, oh, there we go. It just kicked me out, but this is great. So you all can see this. This website is password protected. And we'll have it, you got it in your emails. It's AEWSU. And so that will get you in to your website, and you will continue to have access to this website. The password does not expire. We've kept it the same, so you can continue to access these resources even after the course is over. And then week by week, we'll be adding in the Zoom recordings, any presentations, And this is just a little bit of a preview for what we'll go over later tonight. But each week has our business or has any resources available. Tonight's resources are business planning templates, any homework, suggested reading, and then additional resources below. So that's week by week. We'll walk through our course week by week, topic by topic, and piece by piece of your farm business plan. The in-person intensives we'll talk a lot more about next week and then in our regional groups, but you'll have an opportunity to attend an in-person training event as one of our classes that will be doing some of the work on topics that are harder to do virtually and are really helpful to work in person in smaller groups. And it's also a great time to connect with each other and build your network. All right. The last week of class, this Unit 7, that is one of my favorite classes. It is the class where you each get to present in your regional groups. So we'll be in smaller groups, not this whole big group, but smaller groups. And you will each have 5 minutes to share at the end of the course what you've been working on and the business planning, a segment of your business plan. It can be, we'll give a little example further along in the course, but just keep that in mind that you will have that final night and you'll be able to present a little bit of what you've been working on and hear from everyone else. And to be honest, it's really inspirational. So I always look forward to it. All right. You heard from us as instructors. If you want our contact info, it's all here. Please feel free to reach out to us throughout the course. I will be providing an opportunity through the Tilth Alliance Sustainable Agriculture Farmer Forum. You'll receive an invitation to join our Cultivating Success group, where if you want to connect with others outside of class on this online forum, you can connect in our group there. And then it's also an amazing forum to connect with other sustainable farmers throughout the state. So keep an eye out for that. If you would like to, last logistics, I promise this is a lot. We're about to be done with it. When you present your final night of class, that presentation or being there that final night is what's required to get a certificate at the end of our class. So we offer certificates. They can be really helpful to you beyond just having a piece of paper that says you completed the course. They can be used for things like grant applications, or if you're applying to the USDA Farm Service Agency for, say, a microloan, you can use that certificate to say you have participated in training and show that you have invested time and experience and have experience that will help improve your application. So presenting that last night is part of being able to receive a certificate for the course. And then beyond that, if you are interested in getting WSU continuing education credits, they're totally optional, but if you're interested, you can go ahead and fill out that form on the bottom of the main page of our student website. All right, so that is, I think, all of our logistical details to start the course. Other facilitators, anything I missed before we dive into our main topic for tonight? All right, excellent. And any questions that maybe I missed in the chat? Okay, excellent. Well, we are really looking forward to our course together and learning and connecting, hearing from each of you. As I mentioned, you'll have a chance to connect with each other during our breakout rooms. This week we'll be meeting in smaller groups around 7 o'clock tonight after our first guest speaker. And then we'll alternate our breakout rooms meeting in regional groups, sometimes topic-specific groups, and you'll get a chance to meet others throughout the course, connect with us as facilitators, and learn from each other. So you'll each have a chance to introduce yourself later tonight, But we've got a great crew of folks, some that already are farming, others that are planning, many that have worked on other farms or are currently living on other farms. Um, and so, yeah, learn from each other, share resources, and we'll have a great course together. Now we get to move into the topic for tonight. So our topic is Introduction to Business Planning, and we've got a guest speaker with us tonight. We have Maya Rose of Business Impact Northwest, and we'll get to hear Maya's perspective on uh, why business planning is important and what are like the core elements of that and recommendations for getting started. So, with that, Maya, thank you so much for being here with us. And I saw you join a little while ago. Let's
Yeah,
see.
thank you, Kate. Yeah,
Great.
I'm here.
You're here. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Maya.
All
Excellent.
right. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And yeah, thank you all so much for having me tonight. I'm such a fan of this program, and I'm thrilled to be back. So I'm gonna boot this up. Of course, let me know if you can see this. Oops. Okay.
It's looking good. It's just not in presenter mode yet, but we can see your slides.
Okay, great. Let's see. All right.
And Maya, definitely feel free to tell us a bit about Business Impact Northwest and the services that you
Oh,
provide too.
for sure. Great. All right. Is everyone seeing just the presentation? Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, thank you all again. And again, my name is Maya Rose. I'm a business advisor over at Business Impact Northwest. And I have had experience working on small farms for many years, although I never owned one myself. My experience in owning a business was a nutrition business, and I've worked in other parts of the food system for over 10 years. So I've been all over the place, but I come into this with a context of um, operating a small farm. And so today, as Kate mentioned, I'll be discussing the value of business planning for farms. And before we get started, just a little bit about Business Impact Northwest if you haven't engaged with us before. So we are a nonprofit organization and community lender who provides access to capital and support services to small business owners. We really operate around the mission to grow businesses that create jobs in communities, and our vision is that all business owners have an equal opportunity to succeed. And we do all of this with the values of integrity, community, inclusivity, and celebration. So we have several different kind of branches of our organization. I work in our Food and Farm Services Center, where we specialize in helping food and farm business owners in both Washington and Oregon. I'm actually based in Portland, but probably the majority of the folks I work with are in Washington. And I used to live in Seattle, so I kind of in both places all at once. But we help folks through one-on-one coaching programs and classes, and then we also connect people to other resource providers. All of our programming remains either free or very low cost, so it is very accessible to get help with us. Okay, so why does business planning even matter? I know that it can be quite daunting, and I know that there's the temptation to just kind of hop into the work without actually writing out the plan for it. I see that all the time, and I totally get it. But the value of business planning is that number one, it provides a roadmap. It can be really disorienting to go anywhere or accomplish any goals without a sense of how we're going to do it. So, this is what a business plan is going to outline. Additionally, any business that anyone starts is going to carry risk, but you really can mitigate a lot of that by identifying potential pitfalls and creating a plan for them before they even happen. Also, because this is your roadmap, it's going to support more efficient and clearer decision making. And you're going to start outlining those systems and processes that will create structure for you. And then finally, a business plan is going to be necessary for most lenders and also some land access connectors. And they're going to be looking for really, really specific detail in there and basically the evidence that's backing up your financial assumptions. This is essentially you making a case for why your business is going to be viable. So that's why we want all the detail in it. So the way that a business plan is usually structured, and what we'll kind of be covering today, is it's usually broken down in these kind of four chunks. We have description of business, operational plan, marketing plan, and financial statements. So we're going to go through each of these a bit. We can't do a super deep dive tonight, but I'm just going to cover kind of the high level view and then a few tips for each. All right, so typically your business plan will start off with the description of business section. And in here, you're going to outline your mission and your vision. Mission states what your purpose as a farm is. Vision is more about your aspirational future state, kind of where you'd like to be in the long term. So an example vision statement might be to be the largest CSA program in X county. It can be as grandiose or not as you want it to be, but it just kind of gives you that view of what can be ahead for your business. Your description of business section is also going to outline what kind of entity that you are. This is important for both you and anyone reading this to know. Your business entity is going to have major tax and liability implications. So when I say business entity, I mean sole proprietorship, LLC, S Corp, etc. Some of you may have already decided on this, some of you may still be deciding, but it is good to get some either legal or tax advice around this if possible, because again, it will have implications for the way you do your taxes. I will say here, I see a bunch of people choosing LLC as their entity, which is great. However, I just want to give the disclaimer that that is not enough liability protection for your business. An LLC does technically separate your business from your personal in terms of taxes and finances, but you will still need liability insurance even if you choose an LLC. So I just like to say that very clearly because it's an area where we get a lot of confusion. And then finally, in the description of business section, you'll outline your key goals, both operational and financial. Goals, of course, are going to help you achieve your mission and your vision. And so an example of an operational goal could be, to become certified organic in 5 years. An example of a financial goal could be to generate X number of dollars in revenue so that I can pay myself in, a year or two. Your operational and financial goals essentially become the metrics that you set yourself up for, and that you can measure your success by, whatever success means for you. So really good to get very clear about them, set a timeline for them, and make it so you can actually measure them. They're not vague. Okay, a quick tip around writing your mission statement in this section. So your mission statement sums up your key values, and it should act as kind of a guiding light in your business. It can also be a way to connect with your customers and remind them of why it matters to support small and local food producers. What I'm alluding to here is that your mission can be a guiding light for you. It can also, in some ways, even be used in your marketing. So if your mission statement is something like to provide a diverse selection of organic vegetables grown with care, prioritizing the health of our soil and our community, that is also a good thing to reiterate to your customers because it does remind them of why they're shopping from you and why this is an important part of their fridge or their pantry. Next section is going to be your operational plan. This is kind of your day-to-day. And the first question to really consider in all of this is whether or not you're going to be operating solo. It is so easy to think that you're going to do everything yourself, and this often leaves us in a place where we overcommit ourselves. If you are operating solo, though, which many of the clients I work with are, many of them are solopreneurs in their farm, it's so important to make a time budget and to really outline what responsibilities are going to fall into different chunks of time. Doing a time budget is going to make sure that you actually maintain some sort of balance in your life and that you start setting up this business for sustainability. So when people do this, I tell them to put in even minute things or even things that you would gloss over, like your sleep, your meal times, picking up kids from school. Really, really, truly put that stuff in because it's so easy for the lines to get blurred between personal and business, especially if you live on your farm, and you want to be accounting for all of this stuff. Um, when you make your first version of your time budget, scale that back 25% and see what that looks like. Because life is going to get, the way it does, and things are going to come up. And you want to see what you might be able to accomplish, even at lesser capacity. So I can't reiterate this enough. Um, Time budget, just as important as making a financial budget. If you are operating with a business partner or partners, it's really helpful to think through and write down what your responsibilities are going to be. This is going to sidestep a lot of interpersonal conflict and miscommunication as things unfold with your business. And if you have a business partner, make sure that you craft an operating agreement. This is going to outline in another way kind of what everyone is doing, and it's going to tell everyone what percentage of the business they own. So make sure that you're thinking of that when you're writing your business plan if it's more than just you in it. Regardless of how many people are in the business, you want to be really realistic about where else you may need support. So for instance, you're likely going to need to bring in legal, accounting, bookkeeping, those other kind of professional services at one point or another, especially if you don't have background in those areas. So think about that and think about it as kind of like gathering your team together. Next, you're going to want to think about key suppliers for things like seeds, amendments, equipment, etc. And this is a really good place to crowdsource among other farmers. So I'm really so happy to hear that the peer-to-peer connections are made in this program because that's a great starting point to be talking about these things. And then next, it's good to make a mock-up of how your property and field are going to be organized and what will be growing where and what your workflow is going to look like on that land. Obviously, this is going to change over time. You're going to revise this. You're going to find, way more efficient ways to do things. But at least starting off by thinking about the best and most efficient workflow is still going to be really beneficial. And then finally, you'll want to make a product and a price list. On that note of your price list, because determining prices is kind of a tricky area. We get a lot of questions around this. And the place we always start is around costs. So before you determine price, you must always know all of your costs, including both fixed and variable. When I say fixed costs, I mean things like rent, utilities, marketing, permits, license, professional services such as your accountant or your bookkeeping. These expenses are operating costs, and they're going to happen regardless how many units you sell or what you're selling. So if you have a land lease, that is going to be the same every month, regardless if you're producing 10 pounds of carrots or 100 pounds of carrots. Variable costs include things like production labor, amendments, seeds, feed, things that fluctuate based on your production directly. Of these variable costs, labor is the biggest one. It's the one that always comes up the most because labor is going to be, in the vast majority of cases, your biggest cost as a small farmer. So it's really important to put a number to your own time to know the true cost of producing something. There's an excellent program called Know Your Cost to Grow. It's through Oregon State University. It's free, and it helps you basically track crop-specific labor costs. So it takes you through doing different time studies, keeping track of how much time you're spending in each place doing each thing for each crop. You typically don't do this for all of your crops at once. You typically just pick one, and you can glean a ton of information just from that. But I highly recommend checking that out for the future, even if it's not in your first year of operation, kind of keeping it on your radar for down the line. Um, Another thing to keep in mind when setting prices is to check out your competitors' pricing and consider how you compare to theirs. We definitely don't recommend kind of a race to the bottom to try to have the lowest price, but you might not want to have the highest price either. That being said, there are ways to leverage your marketing to justify prices on the higher end. What I mean by that is really effectively communicating the niche value of your products, whether they're organic, handmade, pastured, locally grown. All those key things are going to differentiate your product and give people a reason to buy from you rather than just some grocery store like Fred Meyer. Finally, note that pricing decisions can be really complex and they can end up having a lot of different factors. For instance, over time, you may find that one product is really expensive to grow and not contributing much to your overall profit. Maybe it's something where you know you couldn't raise that price much more given what customers will accept. And in that case, you have to analyze the value of that product to your overall business and brand. For example, maybe you discover that carrots are a really labor-intensive and expensive crop to grow, and that you also can't really charge much more than you already do at the farmer's market for them. But you also know that those carrots are, one of the reasons why your customers come back time and time again, and you know that they are these like beautiful, eye-catching things that bring in people to your booth. So in this example, you might actually decide to keep rolling with the carrots because they are important to your brand as a whole and because they end up being the proverbial carrot to draw people in. So I'm really pointing this out. The kind of the takeaway here is just to say that business decisions like pricing should be founded in financials first. But at the end of the day, making these calls can actually become quite a nuanced process. And it can even become, more nuanced over time as you get more information about your business. All right, so the next section of business plan is all about marketing. And the first thing to identify is who are your target customers? Likely, many of you will have a relatively similar target customer. Maybe it's that, 30 to 65-year-old, maybe woman who is mid to higher income, well educated, wants to support local food and goes to the farmer's market because they value knowing where their food comes from. But even if you have a similar target customer, you still have to think about, how you'll differentiate yourself. So think about things like your strengths and weaknesses relative to the businesses around you, and also think about how you might collaborate to become stronger together. So if you're a honey producer, but you're next door to a farmer who has a vegetable CSA, can you put your honey into their CSA and then you kind of both win from that? Another thing that can be very helpful when crafting your marketing strategy is to identify gaps in the market that you're entering into. So an example of this would be a farm client of mine that I had who was farming on the east side. And she noticed that the farmer's market she wanted to sell at often ran out of salad greens. Like it was this hot item. They were always running out in the first few hours. And so she totally changed her production plan to include nearly 50% salad greens. And it really worked out for her. That was kind of the niche that she got into as a farmer. So make sure that you're really well aware of the markets that you're entering into and how you might fulfill demand there. Also think about the sales channels that you'll be using and why. Are you going to be a farmer who sells more to restaurants and doesn't do farmers markets? Or, you're kind of more in like the wholesale channels. Um, that definitely changes the target customer that you're going to have, and that will change kind of how you need to get your brand and your face out there. And then finally, think about how people will begin to know, like, and trust you and your farm. Some of the reasons that people tend to support local farmers are because that they want that connection that it provides to their food, or because they value the improved freshness or quality of the food, or because they want to feel like they're making an impact in their food system. So it's up to you to think about how you'll communicate all of this and in a way that it'll resonate with them. So a quick tip for marketing. For folks who plan on selling at farmers markets, know that this is going to be one of your main marketing activities. Don't write it off as anything, but it is such a prime time for getting your face and your story out there. That's the moment that you can really connect with people face to face, tell them about your farm, and build that trust, which is so powerful. If there's one takeaway that you get from today's presentation, I want you all to really understand that that ability to connect with folks, especially in a farmers market setting, is an advantage that y'all have, that large companies like Whole Foods and Safeway will never ever be able to match. So make sure to leverage that. It is really, really huge. Furthermore, good customer service in a place like a farmer's market also goes a really long way to building relationship and trust and loyalty with folks. And if you're at the farmer's market, making sure that you're paying attention to your display is really critical. So people at markets are very overstimulated. They have about 3 to 5 seconds, or you have about 3 to 5 seconds to really capture their attention. So think about, what will draw people in. This could include things like clear signage, the seeming like you're active and engaged in your booth. That goes a long way. And the idea of pile it high and watch it fly, which is just about keeping your tables really, really well stocked and looking abundant. Regardless of where you're selling, it's very helpful to have some type of web presence. This doesn't have to be a big time commitment at all. In fact, one of the biggest benefits of a web presence is to tell people where you sell and when. And that should be front and center on your social media and your website. I have an example here of Rain Shadow Organics. This is a bit outdated, but I thought they did a good job of putting, where they're selling, when, and then they have a link to their CSA. So if you're a customer, you can give them money right then. But they're very explicit about it, and that's what consumers need. They need to be told exactly where you are. And if you don't have time or bandwidth or resources to set up a website in the beginning, that's totally okay. A really good place to start would be to sign up for an account with Eat Local first. And that can be kind of a good placeholder for a website. So people can actually go on there and search and find you and your farm and see what and where you sell. Next, a very important section of a business plan is the financial section. Really don't have time to go deep into each of these, but it should include three main financial statements: your cash flow projections, your balance sheet, and your profit and loss statement. And even though we don't have time to do a deep dive, I just have to give a plug for cash flow projections because they can be one of the best tools in your business. A cash flow projection is essentially your budget. So it's going to tell you where the money is leaving and coming in from, and it's basically going to track every dollar on a month-to-month basis. This is especially important in a seasonal business such as farming, and it's going to really empower you to know when the very lean months are going to happen, and then know where those times are where you have a lot of cash that you might be able to use on an equipment purchase, for instance. Importantly, you're going to make a projection, ideally, for a year ahead, but you want to make sure to compare that to the actuals going on in your books. And then if there are discrepancies happening between the two, make sure that you're making note of those. So maybe you underestimated the labor needed, or supplies are more expensive, or maybe you end up getting a new wholesale contract that actually brings in more revenue than anticipated. Whatever it is, you'll want to make note of this, any discrepancies, because your historical cash flow becomes your most important tool to create future cash flows off of. There are many templates that you can use for this. I typically use one of two, but really the best template is going to be the one that you use and are not intimidated by. I know that feeling where you like just don't even want to open up the Excel spreadsheet. I've had things like that. So whatever feels like the thing that you'll actually open and work in. All right. So if y'all are interested in getting more support with us about things like creating a cash flow, for instance, which I really nerd out on, or other items like continuing your business plan or working on costing or marketing strategy, loan readiness, etc., then a really good way to do that is our free one-on-one coaching. This is a good time to have those dedicated working sessions or just having a space for soundboarding. I find that a lot of people get benefit just by kind of verbalizing the thousands of ideas in their head. And it's something about kind of laying it all on the table really is helpful to getting clarity. So there are multiple ways to use that time. And if you're interested, you can sign up at businessimpactnw.org/register. Another opportunity for farmers to work with us is through our Root to Rise Accelerator. This is offered just in the winter. It's January through March. It's going on right now, and it's for producers that have been in operation 2 years or more. And we bring in peer-to-peer mentorship, professional bookkeeping support, and then our own one-on-one coaching. So those are kind of the main ways that farmers can work with us. And I see we've had some questions pop up in the chat that I haven't opened up yet, but I'm happy to get to.
Thank you so much, Maya. Really appreciate it. Um, we do have, let's see, we've had questions come up and folks appreciating all the resources you've shared. We've been sharing out some links, including that Eat Local First Food Farm and Food Finder, the Know Your Cost to Grow program, which we think might have been discontinued, but Claire shared Veggie Compass is a good alternative.
Mm.
Um, we've got one question, and this is a great time for everyone. If you have questions, you can either raise your little virtual hand or your real one if your video is on, or add it into the chat. And we've got a couple minutes for questions for Maya. We had the first question, Maya, we've got, let's see, is a question more about CSAs, and we'll be touching on CSAs in our market channel analysis class a little bit, community supported agriculture, which are oftentimes weekly subscriptions that folks sign up for at the beginning of the season, before the season starts, to then get those subscriptions. And so it can be a great way, if you're a farm, to get your products out weekly to folks and have that committed. Maya, do you want to share anything about CSAs? Any tips that you have seen working
Yeah.
with clients?
Speaking of cash flow, CSAs can be great for that, especially when farms are starting out, because you're getting a lot of income early in the year when you usually would not. And so that can really sustain you through the growing season before harvest. So yeah, I do see that as a very common business model, especially in the beginning. And I'm sure, Kate, y'all are going to talk about that a lot more. But I've seen a lot of farmers start there and continue that for a very long time. I've seen some start there and then shift into other sales channels. So it's really a wonderful way to do things, I think. And it kind of gives you some time to analyze how that's going and decide whether or not you do want to shift sales channels down the line.
Mhm. Yeah, and another thing that I have seen too, there's a farm that we had a farm walk on this summer, and we actually have a virtual farm walk that will be coming up. I'll share that event at the end of the class, or I'll pop it in the chat. But Wild Hair Organics, they started out at farmers markets selling, they were regularly traveling and going to markets in the Seattle area, and that was the only place that they were selling. Over time, they decided that they wanted to spend less time being at markets and more time on the farm, and they have now transitioned fully from vending at farmers markets to having all sales go through their CSA program. So they grew, like that primetime marketing that they were doing at the farmers market was a great way to grow their customer base, and now customers come to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome example. hmm Yeah, so
Great.
we can, yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Any other questions for Maya?
Well, thank you all so much for having me, and I'm so excited for everyone to continue through this program. It's I've worked with many people who have done this and have just loved it.
Thank you, Maya. And we hope that folks sign up for one-on-one coaching with you or others at Business Impact Northwest, and maybe take that route to rise in a future season.
Awesome. Yeah,
Awesome.
thank
Thank
you so much,
you.
everyone.
Great. So Maya's presentation is linked on week 1 of our student website. So if you want to review back through just the slides, you have that. You'll also have the week 1 video will be posted later this week, so you can listen again if you want. And please know that Maya just gave us the broad overview of what we will be focusing on the whole course, right? So if you felt overwhelmed, don't worry. We're going to take that week by week. It's a lot, and it's good to have an idea of what the bigger picture is and how they fit together, and know that we'll be spending time going deeper on each of those topics each week. All right. So with that, we are going to transition into our next part of the evening, which is where you all get to connect with each other in some small group breakouts. So we are going to send you into groups of 3, and you're going to have an opportunity just to introduce yourself, where you're located, if you have a farm already, maybe share your farm business name or a little bit about that. And if you don't have a farm yet, or you haven't named your business yet, don't worry, share that as well. We're all here. Many are just starting out or planning for the next season, the next year. And it's a place to share where you're at and get ideas from each other. So we'll go out into those breakout rooms, and we're going to take a good little chunk of time. We'll come back at a few minutes before 7:15, maybe just right at 7:15, and we will be then ready for our guest speaker, for our farmer speaker for the night, Ariel Luckman of Waxwing Farm. So we'll come back together after that, but take your time now. Make sure everyone in your group has a couple minutes to share about your farm or your farm idea. And if you have time in your group, since tonight's homework is going to be thinking about that mission and any goals that you have for your business, maybe share one goal. All right, Rosie and Claire, are we ready with breakouts? Okay, so you'll get sent out. If you get bumped out, you'll be back in the main room, and we'll send you out again to a group. And yeah, enjoy connecting with each other.
All right, was that a success? Oh, it looks like we have a few people left.
I'm just going to admit Ariel. She's in the waiting room.
Okay.
So if I send a message to everyone, will that go to the...
Great. Welcome back. We're getting more folks joining back in. Hope you got to connect with some new people, maybe in your area or maybe in a totally different area, which is fun to be able to share ideas in places where maybe you won't be each other's competitors, right? Um, You'll and just share different strategies for different communities. All right. Can other folks hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Nice and clear.
Excellent. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you connected with others. We'll continue to do that each week, and you'll get to share and learn from each other, share any resources, suggestions, ideas, and yeah, maybe in a future time, go in on some orders together or share equipment. We've got a great guest speaker tonight that I am so happy to get to welcome, Ariel Luckman of Waxwing Farm. And Ariel will be our farmer speaker sharing tonight. And the thing that came to mind first when I was just saying that was how Ariel took Cultivating Success back maybe 10 years ago,
Oh,
more,
it's 11.
11
11.
years ago,
Mhm.
and connected with one of the farmer guest speakers in the course. Do you remember, Ariel, do you remember Ray speaking? Ray DeVries?
I do. I was trying to remember though if we knew him. I had to. I mean, I knew Ray before he spoke, but that is the connection. And you are also another connection. And now this is 2026 is a decade of Waxwing Farm.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations on a decade. We look forward to hearing a bit about how you started from the beginning, how your business has shifted over time, what it looks like now. And yeah, I'll just pass it over to you.
okay, great. And does it matter? Because I'm so inept at, I should have asked you this. It doesn't matter what view I'm in for.
That is a great question. You can be in any view you want. In a moment, I'm going
Okay.
to screen share
Okay.
Waxwing's website so everyone will see that and everyone will see you as a speaker,
Okay.
Ariel. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll see me and then the handful of other folks that I can see. Is that
Yeah,
or
if you want
okay.
to see, and this is for everyone, if you want to see everyone while we're not screen sharing, you can go to gallery view.
Okay.
If you want to just see a few speakers, you can go to multi-speaker, or you could just see the person presenting, sharing, and select speaker. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll see your screen. We'll see whatever you share in a minute. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks everybody. I'm not on Zoom very much.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know. And I've got some notes here, so bear with me. As I'm going to go in gallery actually. Oh, that's really nice. Now I can see all of you folks. That's better. Okay, good. And yeah, so Kate already announced us, but I'm from Waxwing Farm here in Mount Vernon, Washington. And like I said, this is our 10 years of Waxwing, which is pretty exciting for us. And I'll start with just sort of the overview of now and then get into more of the history. We are right outside of Mount Vernon. So we're in South Mount Vernon and we're 4.25 acres and growing really diverse 30 to 40 varieties, mixed veggies, certified organic. And we've always been, there's my website. We've always been mixed veggie farm. That's been our jam, and that's what we still do. And things have shifted over time, but primarily right now we sell right off our farm with our farm stand, both people that can come and shop just one off in the farm stand, or people that sign up for our farm stand CSA, which you see that's on our website. And then we do just a tiny amount of wholesale, but most of what we do is our farm stand and farm stand CSA. And yeah, we've been doing that now for 10 years. And that is a lot of peas in that picture. We do not grow that many peas anymore. But the other sort of what we are now is pretty similar to what we've always been, in that Taylor is the main, my partner Taylor, he's our main the heart and soul and backbone of Waxwing Farm in terms of production. And then I have, since the beginning, always done all of the back of house marketing and all those types of office things. I used to do a lot more field work. I'll get to why that's shifted, but initially it was the two of us, pretty full time, just us, with maybe one person's help in those sort of early years. And now typically we're Taylor, myself, and 2 to 3 people in the season, depending on who we're hiring and how that looks. So that's sort of the overview of now. And Kate, I'm just going to talk, right? This is good. I can just.
This is
okay.
great. Yep, you
Great.
talk if you want me to share something specific. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go along with sharing parts of your website that go with what you're talking about.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm said, it's adjusting to speaking on Zoom versus speaking in person with people. So thank you, everybody. So that's what we do now. And in terms of the history of our farm, I'll kind of back up now and to say this: what you're seeing there is our current farm. There's another shot of us. That's more recent. So I'm just gathering my thoughts about our history. So we have been leasing our farm from the Mount Vernon Christian School this entire time. That lease was facilitated by the person that Kate mentioned at the beginning, Ray DeVries, who's a farmer, a friend in the area. And so we took on that lease and started our business 10 years ago now. Now, in terms of the experiences that led us up to doing that and taking on our own piece of land and deciding to start a business, the biggest ones were that Taylor and I worked on other farms. And I worked 3 years before starting the business. So I'm going on 13 years, or am on 13 years of farming, and Taylor a little more than me at 15. And so he worked 5 years before starting his own business. And I should also preface that his first experience was not working, it was actually interning at Plum Forest Farm on Vashon Island. And that was a really influential time for him, where he was able to gain a lot more of sort of the responsibility and knowledge, more than is sometimes the case when you're working. And these days there aren't as many internships as there used to be. That's really shifted, but that was really influential for Taylor and building his skills.
Love it.
And then
Your face.
we both, gathered fieldwork skills working on other small scale agriculture farms in the region. the other thing that set Taylor up for his other experience was that he managed cropping at Snow Goose Produce, which is another little, many of you maybe know it, a little farm and store in Mount Vernon. So he had a management role there, and that's helping prepare him for for getting it on his own. And then he and I met at Rabbit Fields Farm, another one, and then that was when we were able to sort of. He was already considering starting his own farm, but nervous to do it on his own. And when we met, we were able to see, well, we have complementary skills, and we think we could make this work and do it together. I have more of the sort of outward people marketing skills, and he has more of the grower skills. And then we both had the fieldwork skills that we gained working on farms. And there's our daughter Pearl in that picture in the background. So, but she hasn't come yet. So let's not jump ahead. So that's our background in terms of the preparation, and then deciding to do it. We took Cultivating Success. Taylor did, a lot of just his own self-learning from both a growing standpoint and a business standpoint. Both of us just did a lot of that. And so that was the steps that then we said, okay, and then we found the lease, and then the next is sort of the history into the rest of what we did, which sort of leads me to where we were before we are today in terms of how we used to sell, or what's changed. Is this all making sense to everybody? Okay, good. So we learned, we got some experience. We were lucky enough to find this piece of land that was, chest high and horsetail, and oh, thanks everybody, thumbs up. And decided that leasing was the right choice for us. That's one of those business decisions that everybody will make, and land access is complicated, and so it felt like a really stable piece of land for us to take on, and it was already certified organic. Ray had been keeping this piece of land just in organic certification. The school didn't want anything built on this piece of property that they have, this acreage, and so when we came along, it was a good fit for everyone, for us to take on the management, start our business. And we got to come out the gate being certified organic, which saved us the work of if we had taken on a piece of land that wasn't. And that was also an important piece of growing our business at the Everett Farmers Market, which is where we started selling primarily, and with a CSA, an on-farm CSA. It's more of a traditional type model at the beginning when we started. So that's the beginning of the farm, and how, like I just mentioned, how we were initially selling was through the Everett Farmers Market. And really then too, at the beginning, our season was very main season. When's the farmers market? May through October. And that was what we were doing then. And now we're selling and growing most of the year, pretty much year round. So that's a shift. It's jumping ahead to what's shifted, but the stories and the shifts are linked. And so in terms of I could talk a little bit more about the farm history, but should I just jump into how things have shifted? Does that seem good? Okay.
And we'll say too that if folks have questions for Ariel, feel free to add them in the chat, or we can ask them at the end too.
Yeah. So, you know, our business, the farm and things have definitely shifted over time. It's funny seeing these pictures. I'm like, oh, I should update some of these. But it's also still very similar. Kate knows, she's been to my farm stand. It looks pretty similar. Um, uh, so the biggest, one of the biggest, we had like a couple big shifts in terms of our business. And the first one was when we shifted with the pandemic from selling primarily at the farmers market to selling primarily at our farm stand and right off of our farm. So that was a big shift for us. And then the second big shift for us was we were on a more sort of upward trend with wholesale, sort of in the maybe in the last couple of years, not these last 3 years, but the three prior, we were on this upward wholesale trend. And then we got pregnant and had a baby. She's now almost 3. And that really shifted us again to focusing back on just one really stable outlet, which is our farm stand. And so that's sort of the trajectory for us of some things that have shifted. And then, like I said, that now we sell most of the year versus the main season. These days we're pretty much most of the time. And so, Kate, I guess this is I should have said this earlier on in terms of how we set up our business, but we are an LLC and did choose to do that, and that was the right choice for us for multiple reasons. I think it's still a great choice for the stability, so I know you'll have people that talk about the business choices and why, but we've been happy being an LLC. And so I do think, whenever folks are looking at that, look at your own life circumstances and talk to an accountant, or maybe there's an accountant guest speaker that comes, and that'll be helpful for people. But I've been happy to be an LLC, and I think it offers a lot of good security, especially because we sell well, I mean, everyone's selling to the public, but I've appreciated that. Oh, look at that. There I am planting lettuce. So that's another shift. I don't do nearly as much field work as I used to do since having our daughter. And so that's been another big shift in terms of Taylor and him and his responsibilities shifting when she was born. And that was one of the reasons we pulled down from wholesale, because there just wasn't my ability to make those sales and do those deliveries in the way that I used to do that. So let's just check my notes here. But I think I covered enough of sort of our business in terms of how the farm works, both past and present, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. In terms of, what we do for our business planning and our decision making year to year. Excuse me, I'm gonna have a sip of tea. I think that, the biggest thing for us, and that's been supportive for us, is that most of our decisions are really long-term conversations, listening to our intuition and following our intuition, meeting our life as it is and taking our time. There's so much information out there. You'll get so much wonderful information both in this class and the ways in which you seek it out yourself, hearing me, hearing other people. And I think the thing that has been the most supportive is gathering as much information about farming and businesses as we could, reflecting on it for ourselves and thinking and then making those choices and decisions. And for us too, we're really comfortable not solving all of the problems at once or immediately. Just that I think for us, some of our best moves have been doing nothing, whether that's not taking on a new crop, not taking on a new market, not buying that thing, being really careful and really choosing our moves. Whatever avenue that is on the farm has been probably one of the most important and biggest components to how we make our business decisions and what's kept us farming now for the 10 years that we've been doing it. Which isn't to say there aren't things that we would like to do more efficiently or change that thing or buy that thing, but it isn't always the strategic move. And I think we've gotten better and better at pulling back and saying, let's just do another season and it'll probably work out. And it has. So, I think we feel that for us that's been a good model, and that's how we've been farming and growing the business. I see some questions coming in.
We've got some questions. Let's start with our first one from Lynn. You started with just a field. How did you decide what to start growing? So yeah, you mentioned there was horsetails, no veggies growing at that point. How did you make those decisions of what to start with?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the first thing was getting the land up and running, and we didn't have we didn't have our tractor yet. Taylor's dad was rebuilding a tractor for us, which was a really wonderful asset to starting our farm. So Taylor would drive Ray's tractors across the river bridge precariously. In fact, I think someone recently had found an old picture of Taylor, and if any of you have driven over the bridges in Mount Vernon, it's always a certain something. And so Taylor would drive the tractors back and forth to do that field work and get the field prepped. And so we actually, the business, Taylor, I think we broke ground in the October of the year prior to get things all up and running. And then in terms of what we grew, we knew that we were going to be a market farm. We knew that we were going to sell to farmers market. We knew we were going to have a CSA. And if you're going to have a CSA or a market farm, you need a lot of vegetables. So that was how we got going on that. And then, like I said, Taylor already had his skills in terms of how and when and what to grow in terms of cropping. So that was, he was frantically crop planning in those early seasons, and now it's much more dialed in for him. And we know what we've cut things out, we've kept things, we've changed varieties and all of that.
Another question, do you run the farm stand with a person, or is it just where people have to do the right thing when they stop by?
Right. It's both. We're a blended farm stand. Taylor or I or somebody is usually there. We started out being very self-serve, but we've always been very involved with our customers and love meeting them and talking to them about vegetables and the fact that our farm stands right on the farm. That's been a part of what we love about it. And so it just naturally has morphed to, it's a farm stand, but it's sort of our own little farmers market, 2 days a week, most of the year. If that makes sense, in that we're self-serve if someone's stepped away, but someone is usually around.
This fall I was there and there were no more carrots, but Taylor went and picked me another bunch.
Right. So see, what a guy.
Let's see. Questions about horsetail. How do you get rid of horsetail?
Yeah, I mean,
Recognizing
that's
it's
sort of
been
a,
around since the dinosaurs.
yeah, that sounds sort of a complicated cropping question in terms
Yeah,
of we could do a deep dive on horsetail, but it would take a while. So, but
perfect.
deep tillage is sort of the biggest one. I would say you probably can't be a no-till farm with horsetail. You have to really hit it down low and start to break it down. And interestingly, amazingly, there's not very much anymore. It's around in the spring, but it's actually quite beneficial as a weed suppressant. So for things like cabbages, the horsetail, it's like no big deal. It keeps the other stuff down, and it's cool. And we crop certain ways because of the horsetail. So that has affected how we crop. Like we don't do like you see the fancy salad with the little like finger cutter. If any of you have ever seen that, and some of the Fortier farms and all of that, we don't never did that because that would have been horrific with horsetail. So we've always done um, cut lettuces, salad, that type of salad mix, for an example.
Thank you. Do you have an employee?
Yes, we have it's anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on the year and the circumstances.
And next question, what percentage of your sales is farm stand versus CSA?
Uh yeah, so it's we we are sort of uh we don't do a traditional CSA anymore. We do a farm excuse me, a farm stand CSA credit. So people prepay and then come and shop at the farm stand. And so those two things are pretty, people that just come and buy carrots, and people that prepay for their CSA, they get some perks with that. Those two things are pretty comparable. That they're sort of together, they're everything.
Another question, would you be willing to talk more about the balance of different outlets over the years? Are you attending any markets anymore or selling retail only? And it sounds like you're doing less wholesale too. Very impressive farm.
Hmm. Thank you. Yes. So, now I see the question. The balance of different outlets. Yeah. So, it's to say those things have shifted. When we were at the beginning, we sold our first year, we only sold at the Everett Farmers Market. Then we opened our farm stand, and just to get it going, and it was small, just starting to sort of grow. And then the pandemic happened, and that was a really big shift for us. We were sort of the opposite side of a restaurant closing. For us, the pandemic was incredibly supportive for our business in terms of people finding us, because we were open when the pandemic happened. And that was what shifted us away from the Everett Farmers Market. So, that was a special circumstance, and who knows what it would have been like if that hadn't happened. Our farm stand might have taken longer to grow. I don't know. But the sort of other factor of that is that the Everett Farmers Market was starting, they were planning to have more off-season pop-ups. So we were growing for that. We were already planning to season extend with the Everett Farmers Market. And then when the pandemic happened, and that was all sort of in flux, and those weren't happening at the market, we said, well, let's get all this food to people. And we started selling it right off the farm. And that sort of blossomed that. So then we left the Everett Farmers Market that year. The pandemic switched to just the farm stand. We had always been doing our CSA, and our CSA shifted. We used to do what we called an on-farm CSA, and people would come and I would be there, and they got to pick what they wanted based on a selection of things. We called it a market style pickup. And that was really successful, but a lot of work. And when I was pregnant, the season I was pregnant, that was when we decided, you know what, we're going to shift away from that, and we're going to hope for the best. And luckily, it worked out. And most of those customers that had been with us in that CSA just shifted to our farm stand CSA and stuck with us, which was great. And then we do much less wholesale, correct? Yes, we were really upward doing a lot of wholesale to the co-op and mostly the co-op, a couple other places. But then that had to get pulled back again, and just sort of we had to, and that also has worked out, thankfully.
We've got a question. Do one or both of you work off farm, or are you able to make a living from the farm?
Right. Yeah. No, we've never had off-farm jobs except for the very, very beginning. I was still working very, very part-time our first season, but that was too much. And so we've always worked full-time on the farm and made a living. And that's that question, whenever that's asked of me and comes up, I think it's always important to preface that everybody has a different circumstance, and so one of the reasons we lease our farm, and so I don't have a mortgage on farmland, and we still rent our home. I don't have a mortgage on a home. So there are things that have been supportive in our life in that way that have allowed us to make a living on our farm, which I just think is important to say. Not to say that it's also not great that we don't have off-farm jobs and that we make our living farming, because I think that's great too.
This one kind of goes with that, Ariel. If you have any thoughts on the keys to making a diversified vegetable farm financially sustainable.
Yeah. I think that goes back to sort of what I was saying in terms of really look at your own circumstance, get all the information, but what's going on in your life. That's the first, biggest, most important step to be able to say, okay, what do I need? What is going to work for me? What's financial success for me? Because it's different for everybody. And I think that is a really important piece. There isn't just sort of a blanket, here's how you make it as a farm. Doesn't work that way. I think it's really important to come where you are and know that there isn't one size fit all. And that, I think, is what has made us successful and has made other farms successful that I also see do that. I think it's just really important to know yourself first and then go from there. Does that make sense?
It's great advice. A question on, do you have cold storage? And if so, when did you decide to invest in that?
Yes. We did that at the very beginning because I worked on a farm that didn't have it, and it was horrible. And I said, I will not have a farm without a walk-in cooler right away. So that was one of my must-do-its. And Taylor and I saved for the couple years before we started the farm, and we combined our savings. Yeah, we combined our savings. And then that was one of the things, the infrastructure things that we purchased when we took on the lease.
What was the process like becoming organic or certified organic?
Yes. So for us, it was simple because our land was already certified organic. So we were just taking that on and then keeping all of the records necessary going forward. So we didn't have to do anything to have the land certified. It was just a transfer. And so that is one of the other reasons why that lease was a good fit for us and has been. And then we've had to keep up our certification year after year, obviously, but in terms of at the beginning.
Great. And we've got, I think, just one last question for you, Ariel. You mentioned a little bit when you were talking about horsetail, but a question of do you like about tillage, till or no till?
Right. We are not a no-till farm. So we till. But that similarly is, I think, a sort of a blanket. There's a lot of there's there's a lot of space between a true no-till farm and an incredibly high tillage farm. So we're probably in the middle in terms of that.
Excellent. Do we have any last questions? I think that brings us to the end of our time with Ariel. Thank you so much, Ariel, for sharing tonight, sharing your advice of a decade of experience
You're
running
welcome.
your own business, which congratulations, that's a big milestone.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Yeah, and thank you, and good luck to everyone. And I hope that you all have the best whatever path that goes, and you're in a good place with Kate and everyone else here at Cultivating Success for sure. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and hope folks stop by Waxwing Farm if you are in Mount Vernon on Wednesdays or Saturdays.
Yeah,
Yeah?
come by, come by.
Excellent. Thank you, Ariel. Have a great night.
Thanks, Kate. Bye bye.
Um, Excellent. Well, we are just going to finish up our class for the night with our homework and point you to a few resources to do that. Hope you all enjoyed our guest speakers today, and that is just a sample of what you'll see each week and different people in different regions bringing in and sharing their experiences. Hope you connect with many of them after and that what they share makes you, maybe it's just like a little nugget that you take for the day and bring with you, and that helps you in your business planning journey. So I'm going to go back to screen sharing for a moment to talk about our homework. And so usually, each week at the beginning of the class, we do something called a resource spotlight. The very first week of class, not so much because there's so much to just orient everyone to. And so today's resource spotlight really is the resources or are the resources on our student webpage for week 1. So as I mentioned before, we'll load up the Zoom recording here. You can check out Maya's her presentation there. And then really what I want to highlight are these different business plan templates. So as you heard from Ariel and Maya, the pieces of planning your business and maybe like how you make decisions around what you grow and where you want to sell it. There's so many pieces that go into it. And so this is a living document. You will want to keep adding to this throughout the course. You'll want to come back to it at least like each year and maybe document some of those shifts that and maybe plan out where you're headed with that. But so we have various different templates, and I'm just going to show you one right here. The first two are Word documents. If you click on them, they will download. The first one I'll show you it in a moment with the Google Doc template, which is the same. It's a shorter, briefer version of the second one, which has more prompts. So everyone comes to this class with a different reason for taking the class and a different stage. Some people might be looking to write more of a formal business plan that you could take to a lender to get a loan. For your farm business, you might turn that in with your FSA loan application, your Farm Service Agency loan application, or you might be applying for a grant that requires a business plan like the Value Added Producer Grant or the Ag West Beginning Producer Grant. So those might work for you, right? Whether you want a longer, more detailed version with prompts or just this initial one. So let me just scroll up here. This is a Google Doc version. If you don't have Word, Microsoft Word, you can just open this, select File, and then make a copy and to create your own version of this. But these are the different components of it. Maya started talking through that like business description part, and on down through sales channels, your target customer, any permits, licensing. We're going to walk week by week through that. But the beginning is thinking about your description of your business and then business mission and goals. So I'm just going to scroll down here. You can see this is just a very simple template version that you can enter into. If you want those prompts, that if you're like need some inspiration, you could go to those prompts. You can also scroll down, and at the bottom down here, we have different business plan examples that you can look through and use those to inspire you for it. So that's like the kind of a more formal business plan, especially that extended business plan. A shorter version is just the one-page business model canvas, which many business planning entities will support and encourage you to at least start with that. So if you're just coming in and formulating your idea of what you want for your business, you might want to just start there, right? Or if you're a person that would rather write online through a platform, the Ag Plan Business Plan app is a really great option too. Any of these are excellent. It just depends on where you are in your process. Take a look, choose one that works for you, and then that's what you'll add to throughout the course, week by week. Okay, so as I mentioned, this week's homework is to begin your farm business plan. So choose a template that works for you, and then add in your the business name, description. It might be that you're just thinking of and brainstorming a business name. It can be this can be a living document, come back to pieces of it. These are some mission and values examples that might help you draft a mission, or you can look at other farms that you know of in your area. So these are what we'll be using. These are the resources we'll be using. And we encourage you to take a look here, start that. And for next week, we'll come back together and with some drafted ideas of maybe a business mission or some goals that you might have for your business. So next week, this is off of the website, the course overview. Next week, we are going to be talking about value proposition and understanding more about the product and industry that your business will be in. And then you can see the other topics throughout the rest of our weeks together. And the last thing that we usually do before we sign off for the evening is just share any upcoming events that are happening. And we encourage you all to do the same. If you know of an event coming up that you want to put in the chat, go ahead and do so. Claire already added in that virtual farm walk with wild hair that's coming up on January 28th in the afternoon. You're welcome to register for that. It's free, and we encourage you to hear their story. And it's a virtual farm walk. We did this farm walk in person on farm, and we had a company that came and was taking drone footage and footage of the farmers. And so talking about specific pieces of their production and their business. And so you can hear more of that and explore the virtual farm walk yourself. And then the last thing I'll add is one event coming up. Whoa, why does that go? There we go. Excuse me, everyone. Some scrolling issues. Here we go. The Eat Local First trade meeting is an event that is coming up in Northwest Washington, February 10th. It's in person. There are scholarships available for farmers, and it's an opportunity, one example of an event coming up that farmers can meet with buyers, meet and learn from other farmers, and it's an excellent opportunity to do networking. There are events that happen throughout the state, different times a year, and we will try and make sure you know about them coming up. Awesome. Claire, do you want to say anything about that? Oh, good. People are putting in events. Excellent.
Yeah, I dropped the link in the chat. It's the Rural Energy for America workshop. So you can learn about renewable energy and efficiency upgrades. It's for small farms or any small business, really. And yeah, there'll be Pierce Conservation District and Spark Northwest are teaching the class. And I will also be there to help people out and say hi. So come on down. It is free. You just have to register.
Excellent. I know, thank you for adding that in about the market as well, the Northwest Market. So that's Spring in the Northwest Market. Cool. Lots of fun things. Please add them to the chat each week. And we appreciate you all being with us tonight and look forward to a course together. Look for a follow-up email later this week from cultivating.success@wsu.edu. It comes from our MailChimp account, and so that it'll say cultivating.success@wsu.edu. But make sure if you don't see it later this week by Thursday, check your spam because it may have gone to that. And instead, and otherwise, we look forward to hearing from our speakers next week, hearing more from you all in regional groups, and hope you have a great week. And that's our class for today. Feel free to sign off. If you have questions, you can stay on for a few minutes too. Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.